My name is Hannah Childs, and I have been a registered dietitian for about 10 years now. I have my own private practice where I am focusing on working with people with eating disorders, but today we're going to dive a little bit into some basic nutrition. Nutrition can be defined as what we use and what we feed ourselves in order to fuel our bodies. And to take a bigger step back, that will just boil down to three major food groups, which are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So some sources of protein are going to be your animal sources like meat. Dairy products are also a source of protein. Some plant-based protein sources are beans, nuts, legumes, which are, peas, that type of thing. Some sources of carbohydrates are going to be bread, pasta, cereal, and fruits. Some sources of fats are going to be nuts and avocados. Some animal products are also a great source of fat if you have a fattier meat or a whole fat yogurt. And the difference between a whole fat dairy product and a low fat or a non-fat dairy product is that a whole fat dairy product in general is going to contain about 4% fat versus 2% or no fat at all. And it's just a process by which the fat is removed from the dairy product. So in a day, we're going to need all three of those food groups multiple times a day in order for our bodies to function the way that they are meant to function. The role of proteins in our body is they are essentially the building blocks of life. Our body needs protein in order to create DNA and any other genetic material in our bodies. It's needed to repair our muscles and help our bodies create hormones. And without enough protein, our bodies are not going to be able to function the way that they're meant to. The reason our bodies need carbohydrates is that it is the primary fuel and energy that our bodies use throughout the day. In order to think clearly, our bodies need carbohydrates in order to give our brain the fuel that it needs to function properly and efficiently. And without enough carbohydrates, we are going to feel lethargic and foggy and just low energy in general. Another great thing about carbohydrates is that they provide a lot of vitamins that our bodies need in order to create some of those building blocks that I was talking about with the protein. And so in that way, our bodies are quite amazing in that carbohydrates and proteins work together to create everything we need to function properly and effectively. And lastly, the reason why our bodies need fats is because our brains are actually comprised mostly of fat. And so our bodies need fat to help produce brain matter. Additionally, our bodies need fats to provide a denser source of energy if we're not getting those carbohydrates that we need, or we don't have that quick energy available to us. Fats are also used in our bodies to make cell membranes and also make hormones. And similarly, with proteins and carbohydrates, without fat, our body is just not going to work properly. And that's what's incredible about our bodies and nutrition and just this world that we live in. Our bodies were meant to use all three. And when all three are being consumed, we have everything we need to have health and vitality and energy. The interesting thing about our culture today is that we are bombarded with messages from every angle about what we should or should not be eating, maybe cutting something out, adding something in. Historically, we have been presented with low-fat diets being the best path towards health. And recently, we're now being told that a high-fat diet, the keto diet, the Atkins diet, those are the way towards health. At the end of the day, what our bodies really need is balance and moderation. An easy way to achieve balance and moderation at every meal is to use something called the plate method. And what that is, you take a normal sized dinner plate, and a third of that plate should be your carbohydrate. So whether that's a sweet potato or some French bread or a half a cup of rice, it should take up about 1/3 of your plate. Then you have your protein, and that could be a chicken breast or a burger patty or a cup of beans, and that should take up another third of your plate. The remaining third of your plate can be vegetables or fruit, whatever goes well with that meal or sounds better at the time. And you just want to make sure you have your fat in there somewhere. So if you have a sweet potato, you can put on a little slab of butter, or mashed potatoes, you can add some cheese and sour cream, and those will be your fat sources for that meal. In order to get the amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats that most people need in a day to provide their bodies with enough nutrition to function optimally, we're going to be needing to eat at least 3 meals a day. And the reason for that is most people find that if they're skipping meals or just kind of grazing or snacking throughout the day, what can happen is your body is not getting what it needs. And so your hunger cues are going to begin to skyrocket. And then you might enter into the next meal so hungry that you eat too much and you create that sensation of being too full and uncomfortable, which then plays out the rest of the day and how you're eating. And so the purpose of eating frequently is to make sure you're giving your body what it needs in a day, but also to just help yourself regulate and to not overeat at your next meal because you entered into it famished and starving. It also, eating frequently also helps your blood sugar stay stable throughout the day. When we're not eating frequently enough, your blood sugar is going to dip down, which is when we feel the low energy, the brain fog, and just the sleepiness that comes from not eating often enough, which also contributes to cravings, which can lead to maybe an imbalance of food choices at the next meal or snack. So it can be really important to eat frequently in order to achieve that balance and optimal nutrition. This is some foundational information on nutrition that's meant to provide the starting blocks for a conversation. When it can be good to talk to a dietitian about your particular situation with nutrition is when there may be some underlying health conditions that need some more specialized nutrition recommendations. Or if you are noticing in yourself that you are really entrenched in diet culture and thinking about food often throughout the day, or feeling preoccupied with your body and how it feels and what it looks like, or if you notice that you aren't eating consistently throughout the day, or that eating creates anxiety for you. Those are all moments when it could be a good idea to reach out to a professional dietitian to just have a conversation with them to figure out what might be the best course of action for you.